Greetings everyone, and today I'm checking out a new Sigma lens for APS-C mirrorless cameras, the Sigma 23mm f1.4 DC DNC. It's available on L-mount, Sony E-mount and Fuji X-mount mirrorless cameras and won't work on any other system. It offers an APS-C image circle, so L-mount and Sony E-mount users will have to shoot in crop mode, although if you do shoot in full frame mode, you actually get pretty decent coverage, as you can see here. Its price is going to be £450 in the UK, so probably about $500 US, a little more expensive than Sigma's other similar DC-DNC lenses, but if the quality is better, then it could be a good deal. I'd like to thank Sigma UK for loaning me this lens for a couple of weeks for testing, although as usual, this is a totally independent review. 23mm on an APS-C camera is roughly the equivalent of 35mm on a full frame camera, pretty much the most universal wide-angle view of all time, not too wide to push away your subject and not so tight that you can't get the bigger picture. And at f1.4 you can shoot in dark conditions and indoors far more easily than with a darker aperture lens, and get far more out of focus backgrounds in your images. This thing could be extremely useful. So let's start by taking a look at its build quality. The lens's exterior design is pretty unassuming, a little bit ugly in a way I think. It feels solid and metallic, weighing 340 grams, so you will feel it on your camera, but it's not heavy. I'm pleased to report that there is a narrow weather sealing gasket around the rear lens mount, so at least the lens should be dust and splash resistant. The only control point on the lens is a nicely rubberized focus ring. It turns smoothly and responds really well with the focus motor. Also, if you plug the L-mount version into a Sigma USB dock, you can configure the focus ring to turn in a linear way, to work in a linear way, which is helpful for some video makers. Talking about video work, unfortunately, as you can see, the lens does display rather a lot of focus breathing. The lens's autofocus motor is completely silent, accurate and nice and quick, even in single shot mode. In continuous autofocus mode on a Sony camera, it works even a little faster. It comes with quite a deep plastic lens hood. Its front filter size is a small 52mm wide, and it does not have image stabilization. Overall, the lens isn't exactly good looking, but its build quality is great. Small and solid with excellent autofocus, certainly just a little better than its older and admittedly cheaper DC-DN cousins. Okay, let's have a look at image quality now. I have mounted it onto my Sony a5100 with its 24MP APS-C sized sensor. In-camera corrections are turned on for this test. At f1.4 we see fabulous image quality in the middle of your picture, excellent sharpness and contrast. The corner image quality is a little softer and less punchy, but still really quite good for a wide-angle lens at f1.4. At f2, contrast improves just a little, but stopped down to f2.8 for a big improvement. Sharpness and contrast now look brilliant from corner to corner. The lens stays this sharp down to f16, which sees softness due to diffraction. Overall though, this is a great performance for a bright aperture, wide-angle lens on APS-C. There's plenty of sharpness for pretty much all needs, although stopping down to f2.8 does improve the corners noticeably. Okay, let's turn off those in-camera corrections and look at distortion and vignetting. The lens projects a noticeable barrel distortion, and at f1.4, unsurprisingly, we see fairly dark corners. Stopping down to f2 or f2.8 really brightens things up there though. Still, the lens does rely on corrections quite a lot, so leave them on. The lens's minimum focus distance is a lovely 25cm, fantastic for getting shots of smaller subjects. Less encouraging is the dreadful close-up image quality at f1.4. Stop down to f2 though for a big improvement in contrast, and at f2.8 we see plenty of sharpness close-up again. How well does this lens work against bright lights? Spectacularly well actually. Even when they're right in your picture at f1.4 we see almost no flaring and also very high contrast. Let's take a look at chroma levels. Again, there are no serious problems here as bright lights in the corners of your images look very well defined. Let's zoom out and look for sun stars now. You have to stop down to f5.6 for those to begin to appear. At f8, f11 and f16 they become incredibly well defined, so overall this lens seems to be the APS-C king of shooting in the dark. Let's take a look at the tested lenses bokeh now. More good news here, those out of focus backgrounds look really lovely and soft to me, with no serious problems except for the usual cat's eye shape to bokeh balls in the image corners. And finally, related to bokeh, let's take a look at longitudinal chromatic aberration. It's a bit strong at f1.4 as you can see, but at f2 and f2.8 it quickly goes away. Overall, well, this isn't the first Sigma DC-DN art lens for APS-C cameras that I've tested, and the older 16mm, 30mm and 56mm ones were cheaper, but certainly had more image quality compromises to them. This new 23mm f1.4 lens costs more than those older ones, but offers a lot more in terms of sharpness, and despite a few niggles like close-up image quality problems, still it's really nice and sharp, and its optics are especially good for shooting in the dark. It's nice to see big sun stars on a Sigma lens too. So, while the lens is more expensive than its older brothers, you're definitely getting what you pay for here, and it's not only high quality, but an incredibly useful lens that you could keep on your camera all day, every day. So, it definitely comes highly recommended. Gah, I remember the days just 12 or 13 years ago when trying to get a wide-angle, bright aperture lens for your APS-C digital camera was quite a serious problem, and, well, now they're everywhere and getting better and better. Thanks for watching everyone, and to my Patreon supporters, thank you so much for helping me keep these free lens reviews trucking on. Check it out in the description below. Patreon supporters get all kinds of bonus content and early access to my more interesting reviews. Ciao for now, everyone.